The next question is on Bessie Head's essay called Village People. So if you've got the same text that I've got, the changes text, I'm on page 39 and I only managed to write down a little bit. So this is how the essay begins. Let's just look at it. Poverty has a home in Africa, like a quiet second skin. It may be the only place on earth where it is worn with an unconscious dignity. People do not look down at your shoes, which are caked with years of mud and split so that the toes stick out. The next sentence says, and I just want to write this because this is where the question is going. They look straight and deeply into your eyes to see if you are friend or foe. Right, now this question goes on to the end of the paragraph. It comes from Nuria, and basically I'm being asked, what does it mean? Just, I don't get what it means. All right, so where do we start with reading skills? You know what I'm going to say because I've said it before. You have to engage with the text. You have to think about the text. You can't just read something and expect to understand it. This is the difference between something that you watch in a film and something that you read. A lot of a film, you get the meaning because it's like all there, it's all done for you. But when you read, you've got to do it for yourself. So my first issue is it vocabulary? Is that what the problem is? Have you looked up all the words? So let's look at it just for vocab. Poverty. Well, we should know what that means. A home. Yep. A quiet second skin. Yes, one skin and then a skin on top of it. Good. The only place on earth, that's fine. Worn, I understand what you mean when you say I wear something, but maybe it's dignity that is the first problem. Is this the problem? Unconscious means the person is not aware of it. So unaware, or is that not helping because students don't understand the meaning of the word aware? So what do you need? You need not only an English mother tongue English dictionary, like vendor English vendor. You also need a vendor explanatory dictionary. And I haven't looked recently, but a few years ago, there were not a lot of explanatory dictionaries. So that's the dictionary where you look up the word in one language and it explains it in that language. It's not giving you an equivalent in another language. It's telling you what that word means. And that is a problem. If we do not have enough dictionaries, then it's very difficult for students to look up words in mother tongue and understand in mother tongue what it means. So let's go to dignity. Dignity is the way you hold yourself, the way you present yourself. It's associated with being calm and confident and behaving in a controlled way suitable for the occasion that you find yourself in. So let us say you're accused of cheating in an exam. You go into the hearing. If you're undignified, you're rude, you're bad-mannered, I don't know what you brought me in here for, I didn't do anything, and you can chew. If you're dignified, just look at the way I immediately, shoulders back, pull those shoulder blades down, head up, quiet, you would then say, could you please show me the evidence that you have that I have been cheating in this exam? Not aggressive, not, so show me, hey? So what you got against me? Not that. And notice again the body language. Dignified, upright, and calm. So what is she saying? She's saying that people aren't even aware of it. They are not thinking, I want to be dignified. I want to behave with dignity. They just have dignity. And dignity is something that people respect. They recognize it in you and they respect you for it. Okay, so that's that. People do not look down at your shoes, fine, which are caked with mud. So lots and lots of mud on your shoes, and the mud has hardened over time. Split, so broken open, toes stick out. They look straight and deeply into your eyes to see if you are friend or foe. Please, this is foe, and it means enemy. So, Naria, the first issue is, do you understand the words? Now, I did have a student once who said to me, I didn't understand, let's say dignity. I looked it up in this dictionary and I got this meaning, which I looked up in the same dictionary and got that meaning, which I still didn't understand. I looked it up again and I got dignity. And then the student sent a question in to a program like this sponsored by Liberty, and we thank them for their sponsorship and for the support that they are giving us in such a difficult time. And the student said to me, now what do I do? And that's when you need an explanatory dictionary. You need to be able to look up dignity in mother tongue, get it in mother tongue, and then get a meaning in mother tongue. So you need to go looking for these dictionaries, and if they don't exist, you need to start yelping about it, saying, guys, academics, we need these dictionaries. And we want an explanatory dictionary for grade 1s, grade 5s, grade 8s, grade 10s, grade 12s, university students. We don't want one explanatory dictionary. We want lots of them because they exist in English. Why should English be privileged over other languages? Okay, right. So let's say it's vocab. So that's the first problem. But sometimes you can understand the words, but you can't put the pieces together. So let's try to put the pieces together. Let's go back to the beginning. So what is she talking about? She's talking about poverty. So we understand what it means to be poor, to have a lack of absolutely everything. And we think of things like food, clothes, and proper shelter before we go any further. And then obviously, I'm concerned with education as Liberty is. So we're looking at all of these things you don't have when you are poor. Poverty has a home in Africa. So what is she saying? There are many poor people in Africa. It has a home. It seems to belong in Africa. That isn't true only of Africa, but it's where she begins. She says it's like a quiet second skin. So she starts with the idea of how close it is to African people. So many people experience poverty the way you would experience a second skin. It's as not natural, because I'd hate to say that poverty is natural, but it's almost like, it's inevitably there, like a second skin. People experience poverty. So she's writing an essay about poverty. Notice she uses figurative language. So that's the second problem. Is it the figurative language that is causing a problem? So the meanings of words, but then figurative language isn't the literal meaning, it's another meaning. So if I said, when the program ends, which is, far too soon, I hope to be going home. Then I'm explaining that's the place where I live. But if I say to you poverty has a home in Africa, it doesn't actually mean somebody has built a house or a hut or a flat for poverty and poverty goes home. It's poverty seems to belong in Africa. Poverty seems to be part of people's lives in Africa. Lots and lots of people experience poverty. So problem one was it the vocab itself? Problem two is how are the words being used? Okay, so it may be, what is it? It is Africa. So we need to link the pronoun with the noun. It may be the only place on earth, Africa, where it, what is this it, is worn, this is poverty, is worn with an unconscious dignity. So what is she saying about Africa? Is that African people may be poor, but they are always dignified. The only place on earth. So she's saying, yes, Africa has a lot of poor people, but they have dignity. The way that they deal with their poverty. So what attitude do we see developed here? Attitude is how a person feels towards somebody else or someone else. How do you feel towards African people if you say, even though they are poor, they have dignity? They don't even have to think about it. They are dignified. There is respect and there is admiration. She says, people do not look down at your shoes which are caked with years of mud and split so that the toes stick out. Here are two examples of the signs of poverty. Your shoes, they are caked with years of mud, not days, not weeks, not months, years. So your shoes have so much mud. You've stood in mud, it's hardened. Again, it's hardened. Again, it's hardened. It's like big pieces of mud attached to your shoes. And the shoes are open. So this way, the toes are sticking out. So the toes stick out at the front of the shoe. So you've got the front of the shoe and the toes are like that. Right, but people do not look down at your shoes. Now, if I arrive and you go, you are making it so obvious that you can see my poverty and you probably are laughing at me, sneering at me, sneer when you look down on somebody. And she says, African people don't do that. They don't look at the visible signs of poverty. What do? They look straight and deeply into your eyes to see if you are a friend or if you are an enemy. So what is she saying here? She's saying something about what African values are. Africans do not value wealth. So therefore, they do not look down on you if you are in a state of poverty. What do they value? They value the relationship between people. Are you my friend or are you my enemy? And she's saying that's what matters to Africans, is who you are and my relationship to you. That's what matters, not whether you are rich or poor. And I just want to go on because there's a little bit more in this paragraph that I didn't manage to write down. She says, to some extent, I think this eye looking, so looking you in the eyes, not looking at your clothes, your car, your house, your address, your bling. This looking at you. I see you. This eye looking. She calls it this intense human awareness. So this takes us back to, what are Africans conscious of? What are they aware of? We've had that same word, that same idea. What are they aware of? They're aware of the human being, not the external, not the clothes, not what you are showing to the world. It's what you are. So she says, this intense human awareness is a reflection of the earth all about. So she moves from the people. She suddenly says, it's not just one person meeting another person and they make eye contact, eye to eye. But she says it's a reflection of the earth all about. She goes on about the earth. She says there is no end to the African sky and to African land. One might say that in its vastness, that could be a vocab word, I'm going to come back to it, it is a certain kind of watchfulness, which goes back to looking and seeing, that strips man down to his simplest form. So here she's using man as the generic term for human beings. So what is vast? Vast means huge. So she says, when you are in Africa, Africa is so big. The sky is so big. The land is so big. You are seen as who you are in this huge land, this enormous continent. Somehow you are stripped down. To strip is to take off your clothes. Shall I strip? No, thank you very much. So you are taken down to your very essence. Something to do with Africa as a continent, as a land, makes people show exactly who they are, right? They're stripped down right to your human essence. If that is not so, she ends this paragraph where we're going to stop as well, then there must be some other unfathomable reason for the immense humanity and the extreme gentleness of the people of my village. So she uses humanity and gentleness. So she says, Africa strips you down to the essence of who you are, and for her, the essence of African people is their humanity and their gentleness. And she says, if it isn't Africa, this vastness of Africa that pulls people down to this gentleness, then there's got to be something else. And she says it's unfathomable. She says, then there's something else that I don't know about. But what I am telling you about is this, is that even though African people are really poor, they have enormous dignity in themselves, and they treat other people with huge respect. What they value in other people is the essence of who that person is, their humanity, and the relationship that people have with each other. And she says, that for me is the truth about African people. The poverty is like, it's not irrelevant, because she's going to tell the most amazing story about being poor. She's not dismissing it, but she's saying there's something about African people that despite that poverty, in themselves they have dignity, and the way they treat other people is with gentleness and respect. So you can see her position. It's a wonderful opening for an essay. Would you like to think about the next time you are going to write a discursive, opinionative, argumentative, persuasive essay, and think about the fabulous way that Bessie Head brings, this particular topic to our attention. Okay, so that's Bessie Head. So I hope that's helped. So kind of, what is the reading skill? So 1, vocab. Do you know what the words mean? Do you understand how they're used? Then, do you understand the figurative language? And then, can you put it together and relate to what she's saying and get the kind of big picture from it? So there is sort of steps that you need to be doing, and this is your process of reading, and you do it while you are reading. Okay, I've got less than 5 minutes. I've got 3 questions on My Children, My Africa. Now, the first one is one that I did in great detail, and I can't remember if it's last time or the time before that. But if you remember, I finished one program on stage directions, and I began the next lesson on the same stage direction. It's those lessons, whenever they were, things blur. And you are to look at how the stage directions work. When you're looking at a drama, if there are stage directions. So if you're reading Arthur Miller's The Crucible, or you are reading My Children, My Africa, you can be asked about the stage directions, and they often do. So don't just let your eyes slip over them. Say, what is the stage direction telling me about Hale, his reaction, or Danforth, or Proctor, or Mr. M, or Isabel, or Tommy? So pay attention and see what the stage directions are adding to show us what the author, Arthur Miller or Athol Fugard, wanted the actor to try to get. Then the second question was a vocab question about vandalism. You just looked that up. And then I said that there were 3 questions in here that looked as if they were critical thinking questions, which they are, but not about the text. They are critical thinking questions about life. So they're fabulous for unprepared speeches or debates or whatever, but they don't belong in a literature question. Remember, if you get a critical thinking question, and home language students, this is particularly directed at you, you are asked to use your thinking skills and engage with the text and write something really intelligent. So this question I'm going to put aside because I did it in such detail. Then the next question, I'm not sure what I meant to do with it. So in My Children, My Africa, this text, there are questions in the book, and then later on there are answers. So a student has sent me the first page of the questions, and I kind of don't know what to do with this because the person who set the questions has also suggested what answers the person was looking for. So if the student doesn't agree with the answers, then you need to say to me, I answered this question in this way. Is this a valid answer? Or should I rethink? Or have I misread this question completely? But I really don't know what to do with this page of questions where there are suggested answers in the same text. So I really need much more guidance. And that whole table about Tommy and so on is answered in a great deal of detail on page 124 to 125. It's really answered in a lot of detail.